We are very concerned about the language of ultimatums and of last calls at a time we really need to be getting leaders to the peace talks in Kampala where all sides can find a political solution. Things like the language from senior government officials talking about pulverizing and exterminating opponents is exactly what we don't need right now. Just like we don't need opposition figures throwing grenades at security officers in the dark of night. We understand the situation is very tense, but this is a time for leaders on both sides to be pulling their supporters back from the brink and pushing to the peace talks.
On the particular language that's being used by some of the actors on the ground, notably the president of the Senate, there's calls for genocide, right? Just like we had in Rwanda in 1994. Are you hearing those calls for genocide, and are you concerned about them? Hutus being called on to kill Tutsis?
Well, leaders from the region and people who've long followed the region find very disturbing echoes in the language being used. So far, we've avoided the kind of deeply ethnically tinged language that could take this over a certain brink. But the language we've heard of late has been of great concern. It's the kind of language that can actually appear in trials in the future. And what we want to see now is leaders pulling back from that, pulling their supporters back from the brink, giving these talks a chance in Kampala, because everybody agrees, from the African Union to the East African community, that the right solution here is a political solution.
Is it genocidal language that you are hearing?
Well, we're certainly tracking the language closely, and anytime you have senior government officials dehumanizing the other side and talking about pulverizing and exterminating and going neighborhood to neighborhood, unfortunately the region knows too well what that can mean. But again, we're not past the brink yet. Now is the time to be focused on how we come back from that, and we've seen this from President Nkurunziza in the past. After the illegal assassination of General Adolf, he called for calm, and people respected that from him. And we are hoping to see from leadership on all sides right now that rather than head towards an artificial ultimatum, we head instead to talks in Kampala.
Now, Rwanda is a close American ally. Are they providing weapons to those who oppose President Nkurunziza?
Well, we consider ourselves a close ally to many countries in the region, and whether it's countries that are closer to President Nkurunziza or closer to the opposition, those are the most important voices right now to be letting folks know that they cannot continue to support those who move towards mass violence or full operations, whether on the government or the opposition side, and that there will be consequences. And we think the voices across the region are the most important to be clear right now.
But can you confirm that weapons are transiting from Rwanda to neighboring Burundi?
We are seeing a number of activities that would be of concern. I can't confirm that, but I can say right now, whether it's countries that are close to the opposition or close to the government, we need them to be pushing people to the peace talks that the East African community has called for. That's the right path forward, not an escalation.
Thank you.